or tolerate behavior that drains their energy simply because they never took the time to define their standards. A man without standards is like a ship without direction. It can be pulled anywhere, and whoever has the strongest influence over him ends up steering his course. That's why defining your standards isn't about being picky, arrogant, or controlling. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to settle for anything that doesn't align with the life and values you are building. Without standards, you leave the door wide open for women who bring nothing but drama, women who thrive on shallow attention, and women who don't have the capacity for real commitment. Defining your standards clearly means knowing exactly what you will and will not tolerate in a relationship. For example, if loyalty matters to you, then playful flirting with others, constant need for external validation, or disrespectful behavior cannot be overlooked. If growth is your priority, then a woman who doesn't value personal development will never be able to walk with you on the same path. Most men, however, compromise because they are afraid of being alone. They tell themselves that some attention is better than no attention. They accept flirtatious games, empty promises, or inconsistency, thinking it's normal. But when you have clearly defined standards, you stop chasing temporary excitement and start filtering with purpose. You begin to recognize that not all attention is valuable, and not every woman deserves access to your time, energy, and emotions. Your standards act as your boundaries. They are not rules you impose on others, but the framework you live by yourself. For instance, if you want honesty from a partner, then you must first practice honesty in your own life. If you want respect, you must carry yourself with respect. Standards aren't about controlling women. They are about controlling yourself, your choices, your reactions, your environment. When a woman senses a man has no standards, she knows she can get away with anything. She can flirt, manipulate, play hot and cold, and he will still chase her. But when a man makes his standards clear through his actions, not just his words, it changes everything. Suddenly, shallow women who rely only on flirtation lose interest because they realize they cannot play the same game with him. He becomes unattractive to the wrong type of women and magnetic to the right type. Defining your standards also requires self-awareness. You cannot set standards unless you know who you are and what you want. Many men copy what they see in others, but true standards come from your personal values, your vision of a future, and the kind of partnership you believe in. This is why some men constantly attract chaos, because deep down, they never sat with themselves long enough to decide what they deserve. They confuse chemistry with compatibility, attraction with alignment. A woman may be beautiful and charming, but if her energy, mindset, or lifestyle doesn't match your standards, she is not the one to build with. Defining this for yourself saves you years of wasted time and unnecessary heartbreak. When your standards are clear, you communicate them effortlessly without even saying a word. It shows in how you carry yourself, how you react to disrespect, and how you withdraw from situations that don't align with you. Women notice this immediately. They can sense if you are desperate for attention or if you value yourself enough to walk away. The reality is, women test men all the time. They want to see where the line is, how far they can push, and whether you will break your own rules for them. If you have no standards, you'll fail that test every single time. But when your standards are firm, you don't need to argue, fight, or prove anything. You simply move away from what doesn't match your life. And that silent action speaks louder than anything else you could say. Defining your standards clearly is not just about keeping flirting women out of your life. It's about aligning your entire environment with what truly serves you. The right woman, one who values love, growth, and respect will not only meet those standards, but will appreciate them because they create stability, clarity, and strength. The wrong woman, on the other hand, will find no place in your world because she cannot thrive where games are not entertained. That is the power of a man who knows his standards and never bends them for temporary attention. Step 2. Respect yourself before seeking respect. One of the deepest mistakes men make in relationships is expecting others to treat them with respect, while they themselves are careless with their own dignity. They tolerate disrespect, they allow themselves to be played with, and they continue to give energy to people who don't value them, all while secretly wishing for loyalty and appreciation. The truth is, no one can give you what you have not first given yourself. If you don't hold yourself to a higher standard, others won't either. Respect is not something you demand, it is something you embody. And when you live in alignment with it, people have no choice but to treat you accordingly. Self-respect is the foundation that determines whether you attract serious love or meaningless games, whether you build connections rooted in mutual admiration or allow yourself to become an option in someone else's story. Respecting yourself means becoming very clear about how you should and should not be treated, and most importantly, enforcing that standard through action, not words. Too many men say they want respect, yet when disrespected, they stay quiet. They forgive without change, or they keep pursuing women who mock their worth. That contradiction weakens them. When you respect yourself, you don't need to shout about it or threaten anyone. You show it through the boundaries you set and the choices you make. You don't respond to manipulation. You don't entertain people who play games, and you don't beg for the bare minimum. Respecting yourself is about walking away when something violates your values, even if it's difficult, even if it means being alone for a while. That walk away is not weakness, it's strength, because it signals that you will never betray yourself for temporary comfort. Many men struggle with self-respect because they confuse attention with validation. They think being noticed, being flirted with, or being complimented is respect, but attention without depth is empty. A woman who flirts with everyone is not respecting you. She is only feeding her own ego. If you chase after that, you are subconsciously telling yourself that your worth is based on scraps of recognition, not real value. Self-respect protects you from falling into this trap. When you respect yourself, you no longer crave validation from anyone. You already know your value, and because of that, you can differentiate between genuine interest and shallow games. That awareness becomes your shield against women who would otherwise waste your time with meaningless interactions. Respecting yourself also means investing in your own growth. It means taking care of your health, your goals, your discipline, and your environment. The man who neglects himself, who has no direction, who abandons his dreams, will always struggle to gain respect from others because people naturally mirror what they see. If you treat yourself carelessly, others will assume that's how you want to be treated. On the other hand, when you live with purpose, when you carry yourself with confidence, when you consistently make choices that reflect strength and clarity, respect becomes automatic. You don't even have to ask for it. It follows you. Women in particular are drawn to men who hold themselves to a high standard, not because they demand it from others, but because it is evident in the way they live their lives. When you make self-respect your priority, you stop negotiating with behavior that dishonors you. You stop trying to prove yourself to people who don't care. You stop clinging to relationships that give you less than you deserve. Instead, you create space for real respect, the kind that comes from a woman who admires your strength, your discipline, and your ability to stand firm in who you are. It is not about arrogance, nor is it about being cold. It is about valuing yourself enough to never allow anyone to reduce you. Once you respect yourself deeply, everything changes. Your words carry weight, your presence demands recognition, and your silence speaks volumes. And in that silence, the wrong people drift away while the right ones step closer, because respect always begins with you. Step 3, don't validate cheap attention. One of the easiest traps a man can fall into is confusing cheap attention with genuine interest. It feels good to be noticed, to receive a compliment, to have someone flirt with you or give you a few playful words. For many men, especially those who have not developed strong self-worth, this attention feels like confirmation of value. But the reality is, cheap attention costs the giver nothing and rewards the receiver with nothing meaningful. A woman who thrives on giving shallow attention to every man she encounters is not showing interest in you as a person. She is only using your validation to feed her ego. When you validate that type of behavior, you send the message that you are willing to invest your energy in games that have no long-term value. And when that becomes your pattern, you end up surrounded by women who only know how to play, not how to commit. The problem with validating cheap attention is that it creates a cycle where you start craving it, even though it gives you nothing lasting. It's like sugar, sweet in the moment but empty of nutrition. A man who relies on cheap attention loses sight of his deeper worth. He begins to believe that admiration, flirtation, or random affection defines his desirability. This makes him vulnerable to manipulation, because the women who know how to distribute cheap attention always know how to control men who are hungry for it. They will give a little, pull back, then give a little more, keeping the man chasing endlessly without ever offering true connection. By validating it, you teach women that all they need to do to keep you interested is throw small doses of attention your way. But the man who refuses to validate cheap attention sets himself apart because he shows he cannot be moved by shallow gestures. Cheap attention is dangerous because it distracts you from what you truly want in a relationship. It keeps you engaged with women who may never respect you or commit to you. It consumes your time, your focus, and your emotional energy, leaving little room for the right woman to enter your life. Every time you give importance to someone who only offers surface-level interest, you are lowering your standards and teaching yourself to accept less than you deserve. It is not about being rude or dismissive, but about being selective with your responses. A simple smile or playful comment should not be enough to win your time, your energy, or your focus. Your value is far greater than that. And when you validate cheap attention, you are essentially trading your worth for crumbs. To avoid this, you must understand that real attraction is demonstrated through consistent actions, respect, and alignment with your values, not just words or surface gestures. A woman who is genuinely interested in you will not just flirt. She will invest in knowing you, respecting your boundaries, and aligning her energy with yours. The key is to reward depth, not games. When a woman shows qualities that match your standards, loyalty, kindness, ambition, emotional maturity, that is where your attention should go. But when she only offers playful words, empty promises, or public displays designed to get a reaction, you must withhold your validation. This doesn't mean you become cold or unfriendly. It means you no longer allow shallow behavior to hold weight in your life. When you stop validating cheap attention, something powerful happens. You change the type of women you attract. Flirtatious, game-playing women lose interest because they realize they cannot control you with shallow gestures. Meanwhile, women who value respect and depth find you magnetic because they see that your attention is not cheap. It is earned. It carries meaning. You are no longer like every other man who gets excited at crumbs. You are a man who recognizes his worth and refuses to trade it for temporary excitement. That level of discipline and clarity creates respect, and respect is the foundation for any real relationship. By not validating cheap attention, you protect your energy, you filter your relationships, and you raise the standard for the kind of love you allow into your life. Step 4, master emotional control. Emotional control is one of the strongest signs of a man's maturity, and yet it is where most men fail when it comes to relationships. They allow themselves to be ruled by impulses, quick reactions, and the highs and lows of how a woman treats them in a given moment. A woman flirts with them, and suddenly they feel valued, desired, important. That same woman ignores them for a day, and they spiral into insecurity, doubt, and overthinking. This lack of control gives away all of their power. It allows others to dictate their mood, their decisions, and even their sense of self-worth. Mastering emotional control means taking back that power. It means not letting every smile or every silence from someone else dictate how you feel about yourself. Until a man learns to regulate his emotions, he will always be vulnerable to manipulation, to games, and to relationships that drain him rather than strengthen him. Mastering emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings or becoming cold. It's about developing the strength to respond rather than react. When you react impulsively to every situation, you show that you can be easily shaken, easily provoked, and easily led off balance. Women notice this immediately. Some women, especially those who thrive on attention and games, exploit this weakness. They know that by pulling away slightly, by ignoring a message, by flirting with someone else in front of you, they can get a strong emotional reaction. That reaction gives them control. But when you are grounded in emotional control, those games fall flat. You do not get angry over small provocations. You do not chase when someone withdraws, and you do not attach your worth to fleeting gestures. You become steady, and that steadiness makes you untouchable. Emotional control also allows you to make decisions based on clarity rather than desperation. Too many men make poor choices in relationships because they are controlled by fear. The fear of losing a woman, the fear of being alone, the fear of missing out on attention. This fear-driven mindset keeps them trapped in toxic cycles. They tolerate disrespect because they are afraid of confrontation. They stay in shallow relationships because they are afraid no one else will come along. But a man with emotional control is not guided by fear. He is guided by principles. He is able to walk away from what doesn't serve him because his emotions no longer dictate his judgment. This type of discipline is rare, and it is the reason why emotionally grounded men attract respect naturally. To master emotional control, you must first build awareness of your triggers. Pay attention to what situations make you react impulsively, what words or actions disturb your peace, and what insecurities get activated in you. Once you know these triggers, you can train yourself to pause instead of react. That pause is where your power lies. In that pause, you get to choose your response. Instead of sending an emotional message, you hold back. Instead of showing jealousy, you maintain composure. Instead of lashing out in anger, you remain calm. These small choices, repeated consistently, train your mind to no longer be ruled by impulsive emotion. Over time, you stop being a man who is pulled around by others' behavior and become a man who remains steady regardless of external circumstances. Emotional control is also deeply tied to self-respect. When you lose control of your emotions over every small thing, you give others a blueprint for how to control you. But when you demonstrate stability, women understand that your value is not dependent on their games. This doesn't just protect you from shallow women, it also creates attraction with the right woman. High-value women are not drawn to men who are unstable, insecure, or overly reactive. They want a man who can remain composed, who can handle pressure, who can lead with strength and calm. Emotional control is therefore not only a shield against manipulation, but also a magnet for genuine respect and admiration. Step 5. Invest energy in purpose, not drama. A man's energy is one of his most valuable resources, yet many waste it on situations and people that bring no real return. Instead of building themselves, they spend hours chasing meaningless conversations, overanalyzing mixed signals, or trying to win over women who thrive on creating chaos. This constant entanglement in drama drains the very energy they need to create the life they desire. A man without purpose gets easily distracted because he has no central direction guiding his choices. But when your purpose is clear and you commit to it, drama naturally loses its power over you. You no longer feel the need to respond to every game or chase after every fleeting form of attention because your time and energy are tied to something much greater. Purpose is the anchor that keeps you grounded, while drama is the wave that tries to pull you off course. The man who invests in purpose doesn't just rise above drama, he becomes immune to it. Drama is seductive because it excites the emotions. It makes you feel alive in the moment, but it leaves you empty afterwards. A woman flirts with you, pulls away, then comes back, and suddenly your emotions are on a roller coaster. This constant cycle feels like intensity, but it is only distraction disguised as passion. Real fulfillment does not come from these shallow highs and lows. It comes from building, from creating, from moving closer to the man you are meant to be. The more you indulge in drama, the more you weaken your ability to focus because you train your mind to be addicted to chaos. Purpose, on the other hand, sharpens you. When you are locked into your goals, when your vision for your future is clear, you start filtering people differently. Anyone who brings drama instead of peace becomes unappealing because they clash with the life you are building. Investing energy in your purpose also makes you far more attractive than any drama ever could. Women are naturally drawn to men who are focused, disciplined, and mission-driven. A man who chases gossip, attention, or shallow games may gain temporary excitement, but he never gains lasting respect. Respect comes to the man who stands firm in his direction, who does not waver in the face of distraction, and who places his mission above fleeting pleasures. That doesn't mean you ignore women or relationships. It means you refuse to let them derail you. When a woman sees that your life is centered around a purpose bigger than her, she either rises to meet your level or she walks away. And either outcome serves you because the ones who bring only drama cannot exist in the space you've created for growth. Another reason to focus on purpose instead of drama is that it protects your emotional energy. When you pour yourself into goals, passions, and self-mastery, you cultivate inner strength. You stop being reactive to external chaos because your fulfillment doesn't depend on it. Drama only holds power when you are empty inside. If you are not grounded in a purpose, you will always look for something external to fill the void. And more often than not, it comes in the form of unnecessary conflict or shallow attention. But when you build your life around something meaningful, you no longer need to chase drama to feel alive. Your growth, your progress, and your vision give you a sense of fulfillment that chaos never could. Drama drains, purpose builds. The difference between men who rise and men who remain stuck often comes down to where they invest their energy. The man who invests in drama ends up exhausted, confused, and unfulfilled, always reacting to others instead of directing his own life. The man who invests in purpose becomes powerful, respected, and attractive because he has clarity and direction. He doesn't waste time chasing meaningless attention because he knows what truly matters. And in that clarity, he filters out women who thrive on drama because their games no longer hold any weight in his world. Step 6, be consistent in your frame. One of the most overlooked qualities in men is consistency in their frame. A frame is the mindset, energy, and principles you carry into every interaction. It is the structure of who you are, your beliefs, your boundaries, and the way you present yourself to the world. Every man has a frame, but most men fail because they cannot stay consistent in it. They start strong, holding their standards firmly, only to abandon them the moment a woman gives them attention. They promise themselves they won't tolerate certain behaviors, but when attraction or desire comes into play, they compromise. This inconsistency is what weakens respect. A woman will test you, not to destroy you, but to see if your words match your actions. If your frame collapses every time you feel pressured, she knows you can be swayed, and once that happens, your value in her eyes decreases. Being consistent in your frame means that your standards do not change depending on the situation or the woman you are dealing with. If loyalty is your standard, then it doesn't suddenly become negotiable because a woman is attractive. If respect is your standard, then it doesn't get brushed aside just because you don't want to lose her. Many men fall into the trap of adjusting their frame for short-term gains, thinking they are winning a woman's approval, when in reality, they are losing her respect. A woman may enjoy the fact that she can bend you in the moment, but deep down, she knows she cannot rely on you to be stable. And stability is what women truly crave from a man, the ability to remain firm in who you are, no matter the temptation or pressure, is what separates men who are respected from men who are used. Consistency in your frame also means not letting emotions dictate your decisions. When you are steady, you don't chase after every shift in her mood. You don't become overly reactive to her pulling away, nor do you lose control when she gives extra attention. Instead, you remain centered. This creates security because a woman realizes that you are not a man who will collapse under the weight of her emotions. Many women test men